Good afternoon, Alexandra.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Great to see you this afternoon, and thanks for coming when I know you're not feeling very well.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
Alexandra, I'd like to start by asking you why you decided to become a teacher.
I think right off the bat, I love learning. I've always loved learning. It doesn't necessarily, for me, has always been in a classroom, but I just love learning new things and talking to people. As a kid, I was the kid that asked a billion questions every day because I just wanted to know. And I think as a teacher, it is so exciting to know that you have the power to help kids love learning. And maybe it's not academic, maybe they develop a love for learning for mechanics or something. But I think if you can just help every student, even little, just learn to love learning in some regard, I think their life, their choices, the experiences they have will be all the more richer for it.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask you next what it is you're hoping to gain from your UK experience?
So for me, as a teacher, I want to have a career, not just a job. I want to love going into it every day and bring the passion that I have from my own experiences to education. My first degree is in history, and when I think of the UK, part of what I think about is all the amazing opportunities that I would have to bring my students out of the classroom and visit historical sites, everything from the Roman era to World War II, and engage them in a way that brings history to life. There's so many opportunities to bring students out of the classroom and to really shape their learning in a way that, again, inspires that love of learning. Learning doesn't happen just sitting in a classroom reading out of a textbook or answering rote questions. Learning is active and engaging, and I think the UK would provide the opportunity for that. There's such a diversity of students and experiences in the UK right now, and I think that as I start in my career, it would be a really excellent place to start with the development and the support that I would get to have a very good foundation for who I want to be as a teacher.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Alexandra, my last question. I know you've just successfully completed a teaching practicum, so congratulations
Thank you.
on that. Could you tell us, could you describe for us a lesson that you taught that went well and why you think it went well?
So I think one lesson that I right off my head I think went well was a language lesson. And it had to do with grammar, pronouns, adjectives, etc., which is not exciting to teach kids. Kids are not super enthused to learn about pronouns. And so one of the ways that I wanted to get them engaged, specifically with this class, was that they're not a class that can sit. They need to be active and moving. And so what I did was I had given them a piece of paper with just a paragraph that I had written on it, and they had to correct any underline any adjectives, circle pronouns, and correct any capitalization mistakes, which in and of itself is not a very exciting activity. So I had them do that independently or with their elbow partners. And then at the end of it, we brought it up as a class, and I had everyone stood up, and every time we came to a capitalization mistake, they had to jump up and down, and every time we came to a pronoun, they had to wave their hands, or whatever it was that I had to get them moving and active. And then it was really interesting to me because while they were doing it independently in the first part, I could go around and I could see what students really understood it. They were explaining it to their peers. I could see what students had improved over the last time we'd done some sort of similar activity because they were doing it mostly independent. And then I could also see what students were really struggling. They just had no idea. They were just sitting there. And so then I had the opportunity to sit with them and talk with them and help clarify some of that for them. And then in the second part, where we were reviewing it as a whole class, and I had it on the board, and they were jumping, and we were correcting, it was interesting to see, if 98% of the students are jumping, they all think there's a mistake that needs to be corrected. 2% aren't, then we can stop and say, okay, why not we jumping? And it brought out really interesting conversations about more complex grammar that they hadn't learned yet. And so that was interesting, and I knew they were engaged. They were asking really good questions, and just seeing that progression. And then afterwards, because as we did it as a class, then they went back and they corrected their own original copy, and then I could take those in after and see what had they primarily gotten correct, what did they change, was adjectives specifically something that we needed more review on, was it pronouns, so it was just really good because I could tell they were all engaged, they were all moving, their brains were turned on, they weren't just sitting staring at it, and by the end of it, I could tell that they had a better grasp on the subject because it was active learning. which I think went really well.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.